Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to China Uber Alice here on AM 1080 KSCO. I'm Bill Graff, just one of your hosts. There are two others. They include Nan Su, a senior reporter from the Epoch Times, and Amy Howe, a survivor of the re-education camps from the Chinese Cultural Revolution under Chairman Mao. We welcome you to our program today. We have quite a show scheduled for you, and we sincerely hope that you will hang out for the entire time we do the show today, because we have some guests and some pertinent information for you. We're going to talk about Taiwan, as Nan will tell you now.
Yes, I'm hoping you're updated with the latest development news about China. There was a lot of discussion about the possibility of a war between the West and China. Potential conflicts really heat up discussion. Several Australia top administrators and military personnel all spoke recently about the high possibility of a direct conflict with China, and also the same time Biden administration's top official Kirk Campbell publicly spoke and said that it's better to keep the Taiwan's status in the
current status.
The current status, meaning, they're going to keep the relationship with Taiwan in a vague policy position like before. So, which drew a lot of criticism. So, we're going to talk about that. We do have a guest who is the vice chairman of the California Republican Party, who was with us before, and he is from Taiwan. He has a lot of family and relatives that still live in Taiwan. So, we're going to hear from him directly how people living in Taiwan concerns about, and if they worry. That's our discussion today. Of course, before we jump into our topic, we're going to first have our usual segment, the stories from Amy Howe. Amy spent more than a decade of time in re-education camp because of a cultural revolution under Chairman Mao. So, Amy, what are you going to bring us today?
Yeah, I think I'm going to finish my story already last 2 weeks already, and that camellia story. So from the red camellia to the weathered camellia. And so interesting enough is the ending of the story is kind of surprise.
I can't wait.
I left the Yunnan program was 1979 and escaped from there, and then stay in Shanghai as like a fugitive for 3 years. Then 1982 I come into United States. So I still contact with May, but just maybe 1 or 2 letters in a couple of years or something like that. And then when I asked her about Lee, and she was always said that we don't want to talk about some very unhappy, sad history. He said that we basically, he said that you know what I'm talking about. So I got a message. So she didn't want to talk about that. She said she was to get married. Her husband also was born in Shanghai, and so speak the same dialogue I did. And then they have a daughter. That was a one child per family, so they have a one daughter. And the daughter was working in the Beijing, before was in Yunnan newspaper, then eventually go to Beijing, some magazine as an editor. So it seems like they are okay. She said that she worked in the government. I told her she was selected as worked for that time as a revolutionary committee. They eventually back to the normal, the provincial government. So she was in charge department, which was the people complaining and ingest the stuff and write it to them. So she was in charge of that department. And then they sent her to some private sector, because that time, after the Nixon visiting China, so opened the door. So the reform and the Deng Xiaoping, that time the Chairman Deng would start the reform, and so they allowed the state own the industry, like a tobacco industry. That in Yunnan they have produced very good tobaccos. So the cigarette, and they can be a partner with individual and private sector. So they sent her there to in charge, representing the state and the partners. And then that was a very famous company, And interesting enough that they also named the new products, the cigarette is a red camellia. Anyway, and then later on, she told me she was invited me that time to go to China visiting them, and they have a lot of people investing in that different business. And I was not ready to go, so I didn't go there. They have a bigger conference, I think, basically the investment opportunity. And then afterwards, all of a sudden, she get out of that place and back to work for the government. She said she became a lawyer and was in charge of the Justice Department. I said, wow, So I remember she never, China was no law school or anything, no law. She said she had to study and then pass the examination, so they will certify her as a lawyer, and then in charge of the Justice Department. So I asked her to leave again, because I always, something I want to know how long he been in jail, when he get out, or anything happened to him. But she just never talk about that. And she said that, as she knows, he's okay. And he also married and have 2 sons. And didn't talk about anything else. But I always thinking about that camellia, think about their story. And because I learned a lot from their love story, how tragic it is, and what the environment in China for people and to have their love life. So I decided in Yunnan, I said, I'm never going to involve with anybody. So therefore, I don't have to make such a tragic choice. And also, you're going to set the rest of your life. So I decided I'm not going to have any involvement. I'm not going to date anybody or anything. If I leave, I think I'm going to leave the place one of the days. And I didn't know which was very bad. It's like an escape from there. And I've been sexually assaulted. I escaped from there, that kind of. So I never can imagine we'll end up with that kind of endings. But anyway, I still, in my life in Yunnan, the 10 years, their story always touched me a lot, and especially that camellia. So 2004, I bought a new house, so I planted camellia in my backyard. So every February, March, and just blossom. And before, I have a rose garden, and before my rose garden, they're still sleeping in February and March. But the camellia is the only one with blossom. Because I look at the flower, I always think about Lee and think about May. So 2005, I decided to go to Yunnan and to visiting them. But I don't know I able to see Lee because nobody ever tell me what's happened to him. And definitely I wrote up to May. I say I wanted to visit him. First I go to Shanghai and then visiting the place I was born. And that was the last time because after that they tore down everything. And there's no memories. And so then I wanted May to arrange a trip for me to go to the village, the camp I used to, there for 5 years. And then May said to me, that I can arrange you in different places. You may interested, your husband may interested, but not to that village because they still don't have any proper role. And then you get there, you had to, there's no place to stay. So I think those presents, they're still there. And maybe I can stay one night or whatever, but I don't know. My husband will like that. And because he's a Westerner, is not Chinese, so I don't think that kind of primitive condition, like say don't have a bathroom or something, that kind of like a bush stop, that kind of things. So I say, well, that's fine, maybe next time when they have build the infrastructure, have a directly airport. And actually, right now they do, afterwards. But that year, 2005, I just get to the Kunming, and then May said that she met me in the airport because she is a big shot. Is a communist officer, the government, the head of a justice department. So she have a car chauffeur, so she picked me up from the airport. And then in the car, I asked her about Lee, because she coming with just the chauffeur, and nobody else there. So I think maybe it's convenient, not in front of her husband, and to talk about it. And so I asked her, she said that I will give you a big surprise. So I said, what? He said, you will see it. And then, so we stay in the hotel. It's by the lake, called the Jie Lake. And it's a hotel, across the street of that, 1,000 years camellia tree. So it's kind of symbolic, and also it gives me back all the memories. So I appreciate that she arranged that. And then she said that tomorrow I will come in about 4 or 5 o'clock. She said that Lee also will come in 4 or 5 o'clock. And just by ourselves, not the husband, not the wife, and not the kids. We said that, so 3 of us. He said, your husband doesn't speak Chinese, and maybe he didn't want to join because we talk about something, the old times. And if he liked to, and that's fine, welcome. And you can translate it to him. I said, okay, that's a good idea. So I was very excited, anticipate this event, because we supposed to met, 3 of us supposed to met 1969. So after that many years, that's right now it's 2005 that time, right? And that many years, we all go through tremendous and lifetime journey. And then we met again. It's lots of things that we can talk about. So what I was thinking, interesting enough, I was thinking, what if I met them and they're a couple, they're married in 1969. So that's what's going to be now, right? But so anyway, I still don't know what's happened to Lee. So that day, about 3 o'clock, I got back to the hotel. We were touring in other places, and we just rushed home because I really, really anticipate on this meetings. And I told my husband about their story. And he also was very interested because, and that's is something, is a love story, Romeo and Juliet story, and Chinese version of. And so about 3:30, the front desk would call me, say that somebody is there. So I went down. It's Lee. I haven't seen him since 1969, that many years, I couldn't recognize him. But he would recognize the long way. He called my nickname and little sister. He said that. And so we were just tears, come out because I just don't know what we're supposed to say or whatever from when we begin. And so he took out a manila envelope, and he said that this is the letter, and since 1966, December, we met in Beijing. That's our correspondence. And everything in that envelope. Oh, it's like in a time capsule. I was so touched. I just cannot stop crying. For him, I keep this from jail, for 8 years jail, and move different places, still keep that. So I told my husband, I said that's a letter I wrote that many years ago with our correspondence as a pen pal. So he was very excited. And he said, I'm so sorry I didn't bring anything like some special gift from this program or anything. My husband said, you brought the most valuable thing. It's a priceless gift to us. So he was very surprised because he said, I can't believe a Westerner and English speaking, you translate the things, he answered that perfectly, I say, yeah, I understand a lot of things. I told him about all the Cultural Revolution, he's very sentiment and sensitive person. Also himself was in the Nazis concentration camp. And the same age, like I was 16 in the labor camp, he was 16 in the concentration camp. So we have a different country, different time, different camp. There's similarities. So we have a lot of things in common, the feelings, right? And then I asked the maid, probably 4 o'clock, and May come in, and she had the chauffeur, so she told her chauffeur, he said that you go home, I go home by myself. And so he dropped her off, and so she just come in. So 3 of us met. So we were finding a place in the lobby and have a tea and started talking about it. And they don't know each other, no contact for a long time. One day, May look at their government, the Justice Department he worked for, and, found in that government directory and have a Lee's name. So she couldn't believe it. Because, so she said that it's the same name. Because lots of people have the same kind of name, right? And so she just can't believe it. And she just also, she told me her heart pumping when she dialed the telephone number from the directory and to talk to him. And bingo, that's him. Actually, he becoming a head of the culture department. So how did this whole thing was happen after the things, also representing in China, just at that time they have a conservative and rebellions, then up and down, who took the power, another took the power back or whatever. So the end, and they all end up with the same government, and they all rising and becoming, didn't just being perished. They just survived and the rising and become a head of those departments. That's a very surprising endings. And then they told me.
Wow, what a story!
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
really, really, what a story!
Yeah.
So they were both torn apart, persecuted, and then end up in the cultural office.
Yeah, and one is the head of the Justice Department, one is the head of the Culture Department.
Unbelievable.
Well, this actually happened very often. A lot of people got persecuted, and then after they were persecuted, they were promoted inside the Communist Party. You know, there was a famous story that former China's Prime Minister Zhu Rongji. He was persecuted as during the anti-rightist movement. So he was labeled as one of the
subversive
intellectual that's making comments criticize Chinese Communist Party during that time. So he was persecuted. Now after the Cultural Revolution, he was promoted to the position of Prime Minister, and you know what he said? He said, "I don't blame Communist Party." That's like he described the way he was persecuted was like the mother tried to
spanking the kids.
Spanking the kids. So he looked at the Communist Party as a mother. So,
oh my goodness!
So this is how powerful the brainwash machine is in China.
I am so happy, Amy, that you got to see and talk and visit with your two friends finally.
Yeah, but they're talking about they still believe in communism or whatever, and May didn't want to talk about it, but Lee told me he was become a Communist Party member because you had to become the head of this department, right? Culture department. But then he told me, privately, he said that he become a Buddhist.
Buddhist.
So he became a Buddhist. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Well, see, this is the part that this is the part we never got it.
That's right.
Yeah. See. Okay. Anyway, we will continue the discussion.
Keep the story in mind, though, as we go on through our discussion later on today, because it will become important when you hear it.
Okay, so we have our guest. Our honorable guest today is Peter Kuo. He is the vice chairman of current California Republican Party, and he is from Taiwan. He grew up in Taiwan, and he has a lot of families and relatives still in Taiwan.
Immigrated to the United States from Taiwan in 1982. He has founded his own successful business in the Silicon Valley. He's also been dedicated to life in public service. Because of that, he is president of the Rotary Club of the Huawen in Silicon Valley, and through his position as vice chairman of the California Republican Party, it is our extreme pleasure to bring Peter on the show with us today. Peter, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's great to be on. Thank you, Sunan, for having me.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. It's really our pleasure having you with us. So we have heard a lot of discussion. It's like all of a sudden, right? We have a lot of discussions going on from all different countries, media in the Western world, as well as top government officials from different countries in the Western world. So do you, first of all, let me ask you, do you still have direct family and close relatives in Taiwan?
Yes, absolutely. When we immigrated here in 1982, I was 14 years old. I'm 53 now. So when we left Taiwan, it was pretty much under the control of the KMT, the Kuomintang at that time. And my father, because he subscribed to a sort of anti-government magazine, and he was blacklisted, basically. So the IRS came along and took away his business, and we had no choice but flee the country of Taiwan in 1982. And ever since Li Denghui, the president, the Democratic president, took over, in 1988, things got a lot better. And now Taiwan is the largest, one of the most freest country in all of Asia. Have a very, very prosperous economy, education, and of course democracy that's turned to the envy of the world.
So what do you think about Taiwan's security and safety in the recent days after you hear all these reports?
I'm very, very concerned. My older brother is still in Taiwan, along with my parents' siblings and uncles, aunts, cousins. They're also in Taiwan, and they are very concerned. I talk to them on a weekly basis to see what's going on there. It's not helping with things when China is flying over airplanes almost on a weekly basis. They will incur into Taiwan's airspace and try to rattle the saber. And on the other side, we have the 7th Fleet also patrolling the Taiwan Strait. So it's creating a lot of tense situation unnecessarily, in my opinion.
I would think that because of the fact that you have both the mainland Chinese aircraft flying over, and then of course you have the presence of the United States military, the 7th Fleet, and their aircraft and submarines and aircraft carriers and all that in the same region. I would think that Taiwan, in addition to being somewhat scared and horrified by all that military power around them, it must be difficult to act normally as a country or as a whatever Taiwan is. I know we consider it a country, but it's we know its political status in the world. Whatever you choose to call its existence, it is sovereign place, elected its own government and everything. But the people that live there, like your relatives, must be under a lot amount of stress.
It is very stressful because back in the 50s, they tried to take over Taiwan by attacking Jinmen, and that failed. But again, 70 years later, China has never really stopped trying to take over Taiwan, and they successfully took over Hong Kong last year. It's now, although the promise was 50 years, but they jumped the gun and did it in 23 years. After 23 years, and it's very alarming, of course, for Taiwanese as well, just because they see what happened in Hong Kong last year. They never thought that was going to happen within such a short period of time, but they successfully, was able to do that. So again, I really hope that it is the best interest of America to keep Taiwan safe by following their promises, which is President Trump passage or signing into the Taiwan insurance into law last year in December.
Amy has been following Taiwan as well, too.
Mm. Yeah. Peter, welcome back to our program. And I have a question for you.
Sure.
I have a friend. She's born in Taiwan, from Taiwan, and she and with the Jingling University people, those alumni, they invested lots of stuff in China and Beijing. And I think a person right now, when they lost it, because it's like fast food in Wangfujing or something, they lost that. And then they still have some commercial buildings in Beijing. And so we used to be very close and talk about everything, agree with everything. But the things, Trump administration, we just fall apart because she keeps on saying, I think probably she wanted to protect her assets in China. She always thinking we started the trade war was wrong, whatever it is. And but I don't know right now. Taiwan people, I mean, they already not live in Taiwan, but they have a lot of investment in China. How do they think about that?
Well, I do have a lot of Taiwanese friends. Again, I do business with both Taiwan and China. So for most of my friends who have investment in China, they have moved back, actually, in March of last year. When the pandemic broke in China first, they pretty much came back to Taiwan and closed down their factories in China. So that's the Taiwanese people who have investment in China. Most people I know, except, of course, Foxconn is still, have a big presence there. But many of the smaller factories actually moved back to Taiwan and start doing their own manufacturing in Taiwan. So Taiwan, as economic-wise, is doing pretty well. Of course, their semiconductor factory has been the number one in the world of producing semiconductor chips, which China desperately need right now, and that's why they're eyeing on Taiwan, not just for the Zhuquan, right, or the to unify China per se, but it's really for its resources in terms of semiconductors, the talents they have in Taiwan, and everything else. The strategic importance of Taiwan to the rest of Asia is paramountly important.
So what about the people? They invest a lot in real estate. I know lots of Taiwan people, they invest in China. They have real estate, so it's not able to sell it at all. Even if they sell it, they say that they're not able to get money out.
Of course, yeah, because that's the way the currency is played, right? You put in U.S. dollar or Taiwan dollar, it come back as RMB, and you cannot take out your RMB out of China more than 50,000 a year. Although they have said they relaxed that, quote unquote, but really in reality it's very, very difficult to get money out with all your investment. So people are start realizing what China is doing is all about control, it's about power, and they are trying very hard to get out of China of their investment right now.
Peter, it seems like our Biden administration is sending self-conflict signals. While the Secretary of State, Anthony Biden, said the U.S. has a serious commitment to Taiwan's being able to defend itself, at the same time that National Security Council coordinating for the Indo-Pacific area, that's Kurt Campbell, who said that strategic clarity on Taiwan policy carries significant downsides to the U.S. So people has been discussed what kind of a policy and direction the Biden administration is going to move towards to once China does attack Taiwan. What do you think?
When during the Trump campaign, again, as you know, I was one of the Trump's campaign member here in California. Of course, we attacked Joe by saying he's China Joe, right? So meaning that Hunter Biden has so much business relationship with China. It is very likely that Joe will now, quote unquote, rescue or back up Taiwan if it is attacked by China. So that was before, that was sort of our talking points during the campaign. And of course, I'm for President Trump because his commitment is to protect Taiwan. So right now, I really don't know, to be honest with you, because he's sending so much mixed signals. I mean, in a sense that he invited Taiwan's envoy to attend his inauguration. That's a big deal for Taiwan. And yet, we really don't know what his intention is or what his action will be when that actually happened. And my guess is that Taiwan is not really counting on 100% support from the U.S. Because U.S. is the current administration, the Biden administration, is afraid of China, in my opinion. So I really don't know if they will act or not. But I certainly hope that the Taiwan Insurance Act will be able to allow U.S. to sell more arms so the Taiwanese people can defend themselves.
Let me bring an economy into this for just a minute. You made an allusion to the fact that China very much needs the semiconductor parts that Taiwan is now making and making well. But it's interesting. So does the United States. I'm told, and I've read some reports that Intel, for instance, does not make chips that are nearly as good as the chips made in Taipei right now.
Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Group.
Yes.
Yes.
Number one chip in the world.
Yeah.
And of course, folks are now asking for that chip for their computer products in the United States. Mm-hmm. So it seems to me that Taiwan, at least economically and in that one sector, seems to be in the driver's seat to supply anybody who will pay the highest amount of money for their product. Would the United States then not want to protect that alliance?
I certainly think so. Again, it's not just TSMC, right? It's actually Qualcomm, Broadcom, the company here in the U.S. Also need that alliance from Taiwan to be able to supply those chips for cars and mobile phones or tablets. So, again, I think it would be the best interest of the U.S. to protect Taiwan from the invasion of China, because if China were to take over Taiwan, basically it's game over for the United States, because they would have no resources to have the advancement in technology. And China would have, if they can control Taiwan, including TSMC as a company, U.S. is into the world of hurt if that happens.
So you may have just answered my question inadvertently by if the United States government perceives themselves as being in a world of hurt without Taiwan, I'm sure that the United States government knows to protect Taiwan. Anyway, Amy, you have a question?
So. They should. Yeah.
Yes, Peter, I have one more question.
Sure.
2016 is the last time I visited Taiwan. 2006 I visited Taiwan, and I love the country because I think that they're the one still keep a Chinese culture, Chinese tradition, and it's very nice, And 2016, it's bigger changing. Still, it's a free country because I saw in 101, that the building in front of that they have all kind of people protesting everything. Mm-hmm. Taiwan independent, Falun Gong, you name anything. Mm-hmm. Also, I saw lots of Chinese tourists, and they were actually trying to stop this Falun Gong people. Mm-hmm. And so, then also lots of people, group of people, I don't know what they, use Chinese flag, the communist flag there. So it's like China already infiltrated to Taiwan in lots of places, So what kind of impact right now toward the relationship? Like, you think lots of people wanted to unify with China, with the CCP?
No. Actually, interesting question. It's very timely. My friend just sent me a video yesterday about this Russian who is actually in Taiwan right now, and she explained it perfectly. She said, Taiwan, in Russia, if you were to criticize President Putin, you would find, $500, right? But in Taiwan, you actually can, because we value the freedom of speech so much. We allow them to actually protest, unlike any other countries. In U.S., we also value our freedom of speech, but as we all know, it's been slowly taken away. Twitter banning President Trump and Facebook. That was should serve as a warning bell for the Americans to realize what the games that the Chinese. I should say the socialist countries are playing. First of all, they take away your freedom of speech. Taiwan, on the other hand, they value that freedom of speech so much because of the lessons they learned 40 years ago, before my father was persecuted. They learned that from that, knowing that the speech from the opposing party is actually a good thing. So they allow it. They're allowed for the Taiwanese people to choose. Hey, do you think, you want to back the Communist Party? I mean, that is a perfect display of democracy. What you saw in front of Taipei 101. Falun Gongs, the Communist Party flag waving, Okay, we okay with that. And what that Russian lady say in a school while she was learning Mandarin, one of the students saying that Taiwan is a part of China. In the old days, if you were to say that, you would be locked up in prison, right? I mean, but and to her surprise, in fact, to her shock, the teacher actually did not, raise her voice at all and asked this student politely. They treat them as equal. They don't treat them as a teacher-student, but they treat them as equal. Say, interesting point. Why do you think that way? And that is actually, and from there, it promotes a very productive discussion, on why Taiwan should be a part of China. And then the other students, of course, would chime in very civilly. No one attacking each other. No one trying to beat each other up to see whose kung fu is better, right? So those are the things that Taiwan is now becoming a true democracy, in my opinion. Unlike U.S., unlike China, unlike Russia, and that is what we need to foster. Is that freedom of speech is so essential to any civilized country, nation. Yeah.
Wow. So
still a free speech zone in Taiwan, so that's great. Probably better than we have.
No cyclone fence.
Well, there's from what I heard from Peter, there's no free speech zone in Taiwan. The whole Taiwan is free speech.
Well, like we're supposed to be.
Okay, Peter, now go back to the question, the threat from China across the Taiwan Strait. I look at the recent record on April 25th, 25 fighter jets and bombers approaching Taiwan. And recently also, actually, the Chinese Communist Party sent their fleet as well as their airplane actually to the east side. See, China is on the west side of Taiwan. They go around.
They went around.
They went around and go to the east side of Taiwan. So they circulating around, which really try to show the threat. So how do you feel the whole society responding to this kind of action from China?
It's almost like crying wolf nowadays. I mean, no knows this, right? Every time they do this mission or sea space incursion, the Taiwan government or military will respond, and wasting a lot of money and resources, right? So probably 50, 60 times already in this past year, and every time they do this, it costs the Taiwanese government millions and millions of dollars, just scrambling jets, get everything ready. But they never saying that, this is just another incursion, because they treat each incursion as a serious threat, because they don't know which one is going to be real or not, right? So it's very unnerving for the Taiwanese people, because they certainly don't want war to break out. That's pretty much on everybody's mind, both sides. I'm certain that nobody wants 10, 20 million people to die, right? So those are the things that I really encourage China to have a serious dialogue with the rest of the world, and by saying that this is the internal affair of Chinese government, it's not the answer. They've been giving that same answer for 50 years. and to me, that didn't make sense at all, just because, like the earlier host has mentioned, we have our own currency, we have our own government, we have our own laws, we have our own entire elected, system that is very unique. That's different from China completely. And, it's almost like my grandparents got a divorce 60 years ago, and now they're still fighting to it's like my grandfather, China, is trying to get my grandma back, but my grandma doesn't want to go back. So, I mean, it's just, if we look at things that way, maybe we can understand a little better, right? So how to have a civil society without causing wars that is so harmful for both parties is really...
Maybe we should get your grandfather a new girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah, they already have Hong Kong, right? They took her back.
So, Peter, one very important question. As an American, you love both United States, you love Taiwan.
Yes.
We already know that. But what do you think do you think the government of the United States shall send a clear and determined signal to CCP, Communist Party in China, that we are determined to defend the democracy and human rights and Taiwan as a country?
I think we should definitely send a clear signal that is acceptable to both Taiwanese and Chinese, and that is peace. United States wants peace, and that is more important than anything else. So if one side breaks the peace of invading, each other or whatever, then U.S. will step in, just as if we have defended Israel by supplying them with arms, right? And I think that should be the stand that the United States should do. Again, send a strong signal that we want peace. We don't want to see you guys go into wars.
Well, Peter, it's interesting. We the United States has gone around the world and spent a lot of money, defending Afghanistan, defending all these other places, right? And yet, one of the beacons of democracy on the planet is Taiwan, and we've always had a good relationship with Taiwan. But if push comes to shove, there are some who aren't sure whether the United States would back Taiwan fully or not. I don't know. If I get a vote, I think we ought to back them first.
Absolutely. And I think, Senator Marco Rubio actually sponsored a visa bill to shelter in, many illegal aliens, who's coming to the country. And I actually would encourage him and say, hey, how about the freedom fighters in Hong Kong? Why can we get them here first, right? Because they're Christians, they have skills. Many of them are nurses. Perhaps we can give them, priority over, the Muslims who don't believe in their values, right? So those are the signal we can definitely send if we were to start from Hong Kong, by protecting the freedom fighters over there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so,
and
Peter,
then, like I say, I think the most important message is peace, and that spelled out indirectly. Say, if you were to break this peace treaty, we will back the party that was attacked.
What did you say, Amy? I didn't hear you.
No, I said, what do you think, Peter? What's happened to Hong Kong in the near future will happen to Taiwan?
Yes, what happened in Hong Kong last year could happen in Taiwan very soon if we don't send a strong message today.
Thank you so much, Peter. It's always our pleasure having you in our program, and we're sure we're going to invite you back in the future to continue this discussion. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, everyone, for having me here today. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
We enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome back again. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Amy. Bye-bye.
We're going to take our break really quick here and come back to end the first hour of China Uber Alice.
Big O's Big Menu. Big O Tires is also Big O Service, with a huge menu of ways it can make your car or truck feel young again, including 30, 60, and 90,000-mile factory-approved warranty inspections. Why go to a dealer when you can be treated like family at the father and son-operated Big O Tire and Service Center on Soquel in Santa Cruz?
User-Friendly Computing is Santa Cruz County's top-rated IT service and solutions provider since 1993. Here's why. Service and repair. Whether it's hardware, software, servers, or a workstation, we'll fix it or find you a new one. Managed services. Optimize and protect your infrastructure with 24/7, 365 proactive monitoring. Cloud Solutions. Cloud IT is the future of small and medium business technology management. Website design. Engage customers and grow your business with tools to update your own content. Backup and recovery. Ensure business continuity with a comprehensive backup and disaster recovery plan. And finally, security and compliance. Advanced security systems help protect your data and keep your business up and running. There's only one place to go for all your computer and IT solutions. User-Friendly Computing, 505 River Street in Santa Cruz. Give Peter and his friendly staff a call at 831-423-9653. And be sure to tell them you heard about it on KSCO.
Hi, folks. Warren Knox here of Knox Roofing. You know, here at Knox Roofing, we've roofed just about every type of house out there. Bird houses, bat houses, outhouses, cat houses, dog houses, steep roof houses, flat roof houses, lighthouses, fire houses, fish houses, smoke shop houses, island houses, tree houses, haunted houses, worn out houses, poor houses, and rich houses. The big house, you don't want to end up there. I'll stay on the roof, thank you. Bee houses. So whatever type of house you need a roof for, call Knox Roofing at 461-0634. That's 461-0634. Thanks, folks.
Think Local First is now 2 hours every Saturday from 2 to 4 p.m. Think Local First has been the driving force for supporting our local businesses here in our community. Think Local First is sponsored by Heavenly Roadside Cafe, Togo's of Scotts Valley, Capitola, and Watsonville, Back Nine Bar and Grill, BP Insurance, Business with Pleasure, Tremonti's Italian Restaurant, Cruise Into Wellness of Capitola, and Bruno's Bar and Grill. So remember, Think Local First every Saturday from 2 to 4 p.m. on KSCO, AM 1080, or KSCO.com.
Well, that's our first hour of China Uber Alice today. I'll remind you, we have a website, ChinaUberAlice.com, and we invite you to go by there and check out the website. It has our previous programs and a lot of show information and whatnot. Amy and Nan and I will be back after the news break at the top of the hour for the second hour of our program today, and we have quite a discussion planned, so we invite you to join us. This is KSCO Santa Cruz Salinas, Monterey. Stay tuned for Town Hall News and an update on traffic and weather. It's on the way.
KSCO News Talk time is 3:05. I'm Sam Quinton with your King of the Hill traffic and weather. A couple of things to tell you about on the CHP page, starting most of this in Santa Cruz. Traffic hazard reported at Kenneth Drive, at Townsend Drive. This is a branch in the road closure of both ends of Kenneth, it says here. And the units are assigned but on their way. Also on Santa Cruz Highway 17 southbound at the Highway 1 northbound connector, traffic collision involving 3 vehicles, no injuries to report there, and units are assigned to the scene. Also in Santa Cruz Highway 1 southbound at Vista Point, traffic hazard reported there. Something is blocking the center of the slow lane, it says here. Moving on, Highway 17, however, up and over the summit, that's accident-free and moving at the limit. Highway 9 is clear. Highway 1 southbound coming off the Fishhook from Soquel through Bay Avenue. You're going to find yourself about a 7-minute delay so far through that area. And Highway 101 right now southbound from South Coyote to Madrone. That's going to be about an 8 to 10 minute delay through that area. Your Central Coast forecast for tonight, mostly clear, looking for a low of 46 degrees. Tomorrow, sunny skies, looking for a high of 69. Right now, outside the KSCO studios, it is 73 degrees. Now, stay tuned. KSCO News Talk time is 3:06, and that means it's time for the second hour of China Uber Alice on KSCO.
Welcome to the second hour of China Uber Alice for this Thursday, the 6th of May. Hard to believe it's already the 6th of May. I'm Bill Graff, along with Amy Howe and Nan Su, my co-hosts on this program. Actually, they're the hosts. I'm just sort of the guy running the equipment. I will say this. If you'd like to participate in our program, our telephone number is pretty easy to remember. It's 479-1080, 479-1080. And we'd love to talk with you today. We have quite a few things we want to get on the table today. I think not the least of which is what we were just talking about. And, Amy's story about getting back together with her 2 friends, it's kind of a metaphor, at least in my brain, for how countries should maybe get together and talk about things. Maybe work things out. Try to figure out where the other country is coming from.
Well, it doesn't. One thing I learned always from Amy's story is it doesn't matter how people change. The Communist Party never change.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I always being reminded when I hear stories from Amy. But anyway, go back to our discussion subject. You're welcome to join us for the discussion about Taiwan. What do you think, our administration, what kind of signal you think that Biden administration should send to China and Taiwan? Personally, I think we need to send a very strong signal.
I have a question I'd like to have answered. Should we put up with China? I mean, as a world community, as like the United Nations and the rest of the countries around the world, whatever your political persuasion is in this, should we put up with China trying to dominate the rest of us?
Well, first of all, I think that in the last 20-some years, or even 50 years ever since Henry Kissinger visited Beijing, and I think the reason that we put up with China was we have been really thinking, China will support us in the Cold War, maybe we will help China to change, right?
Well, so, that was the theory, but look, the theory hasn't worked so far.
Right, so if the theory has not been working for more than half a century already, why do we still keep that kind of a mentality when we deal with China?
Look at Amy's experience. Amy has told us at the beginning of every single one of these programs about her personal experience about how things did not go well for her family and herself. Amy has given us that personal experience. What makes us look? I hate to quote Dr. Phil, but let me quote Dr. Phil. He says, future performance is based on past behavior. China has behaved badly for many years.
As long as we can remember, basically.
What makes us believe China's going to behave better?
That's right. So what makes us believe that our past policy, for the 50 years all the way until 2018, I would say, before the trade war start,
right?
All the way to the time that before the trade war start, I think that will be the December of 2017. So if our past policy has not been worked for more than 50 years, why do we think we still want to put up with China? I think you put that question perfectly. Makes sense.
Amy, what do you think?
I think for business concerns, the corporation in the United States and over the world, and I think right now it's not because for a long time, about 20 years or so, because they have a cheap labor or whatever it is, so they think it's good investment. But right now, I think strictly is the big market, because you cannot find another market bigger as China. So those corporations, they still doing business with China and also influence the politics. Definitely, we see already, right?
Yeah.
And in any other country. So basically, they just want the profit and they just want the market.
Follow the money.
They're not going to change anything. So doesn't even some people think, eventually, they're going to take over, going to dominate the world, how dangerous, But nobody cares, seems like.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think you might be right on that one, Amy. You get the impression around the world that people don't care.
Well, these corporations, they don't even believe they are American corporations. They believe
they think they're global.
They are global corporation business, and they think they are international corporation. They may just have one office building in the United States. It just happened their headquarters. It's located in the building that's in the United States. They can move out anytime to maybe London, maybe France, who knows, maybe Shanghai in China one time. Know.
So you think we can boycott those companies? They say, okay, we don't want to buy anything from Walmart. Okay, we don't buy any Apple product. We don't use Google. We don't use Facebook. You think American can do that?
Well, I think that's why we're here. I think that's our job.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we are here to stir the pot, to make the public, to express their opinion, to pay attention to these things.
Well, let's ask our audience. Do you think we should put up with China? I mean, let's just ask it point blank. Do you think the United States and the rest of the world community should put up with China being a big bully? I'll tell you one thing. When I was a kid, until I figured out that I was bigger than the older kids for a long time in grammar school, they picked on me. I was bullied. Until one day I realized, you know what? I'm done with this.
China's bully diplomacy, in Chinese words, the Chinese Communist Party call them fighting wolf diplomacy. That's what they call it, fighting wolf. Mm-hmm. You know what wolf stands for? See, wolf, they are very brutal, right? But wolf, vicious and brutal, and they fight as a group. So that's the kind of a culture that really very much fit, not as individualism, for the country who believe individualism, but for the country who believe collectivism. That's very much. That's why they really select a correct term to to describe, their effort as
how wolves hunt.
Wolves diplomacy. So that's what you see. All around the world, all the diplomats from China, they're all fighting the same way.
Yeah.
Yes. And then, in the beginning, 30 years ago, we saw that they are puppies. Very nice puppies. They didn't know. They grow up and become a wolf.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's a great analogy, Amy. Hey, let's take a call from Jennifer, who's calling us from Prunedale. Let me make sure I got the right button here. I don't want to push the right button and drop Amy. Okay, let's do it like this. Jennifer, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Good. So what do you think? Do you think we ought to put up with China?
Absolutely not. We were once the country with the greatest manufacturing base in the world. Why can't we do it again? Why shouldn't we do it again? Why are we going to allow, people have this fake kind of like sense of, we're buying all these wonderful things from these other countries. Do you realize that those people are, you're against slavery, but you're okay with people in China being slaves to the manufacturing
Very
world?
good point. And you know what? That's why I don't own an iPhone. Even though the iPhone is supposed to be the greatest thing on the planet Earth when it comes to telephones, guess what? I don't have one. I won't buy one. I'll never own one.
I'm getting rid of mine.
I'll never own one.
I'm getting rid of mine. Now that I realize and I'm happening, I never, number one, years ago I saw what they were doing to America and doing to small businesses, and I refuse to shop there. We have so many other avenues that we could have, and what better way to put people back to work? What better way to make Middle America and America strong again is by bringing back our manufacturing base.
Well, at the
there's nothing wrong with those jobs.
I will say this. I hope I don't sound like an old fogey and a broken record, but here goes. Here's the thing. When the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, we found out just how good American workers really were. When all the factories had to start building munitions right away, there was no waiting time. We did a pretty good job of doing that. And then when a bunch of the men all went into the military to go fight for the country, guess who built everything? A whole bunch of women.
Exactly.
Guess what? We could do it again if we had to. I'm positive we could.
There were a huge amount of men, too, that obviously couldn't go into the military for whatever health reasons, but they needed to work, too.
That's right.
But, there's such a population of even young people, they don't want to go to college. Who wants to go to college anymore? It's ridiculous. And they need to have good-paying jobs or just jobs, period. Why shouldn't we build back our manufacturing base?
Well,
stop giving China all this power.
Jennifer, that's a very good point. And here's the other thing that I'm thinking about. Look, my father's 89 years old, and he has frequent appointments at the chiropractor. Well, getting him to the chiropractor, we drive on the rural roads in Santa Cruz County, and then we drive him home from the chiropractor. And there's many times I've driven my father home from the chiropractor thinking, I hope we didn't waste all that money on the chiropractor because of the bumps my poor father has to drive over. Why can't we fix the roads and the bridges and all the stuff that's falling down around us, hire some people who need work and get it done?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. The infrastructure, our roads, bridges, and things like that. They are not all this stuff that they want to spend trillions of dollars on. And they've been doing it for decades. They've been wasting money, just absolutely wasting money in so many ways, and sending money over to countries who all they do are pocket it with corrupt politicians. Why are we even doing that?
It was a good idea.
If it's so obvious, why? Why?
Jennifer, thank you for the call. Amy, you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to make some comment. Yesterday I went to a Costco shopping. I only found 2 items made in USA. One is the garden hose. But they all sold out because why we had to, for years, we had those garden was all made in China, and very poor quality and cheap. But now this one not that expensive. I think only $18, $19, so it's made in USA. That's the beginning, right? Another one, the cooking ware, the wood, you cook Chinese stir fry, small wood, and I think 10 inches, and made in USA. So,
well,
I
it's a
hope
start.
we can find
That's a
much
good start,
more. Yeah.
We're making something.
Jennifer, thank you for the call. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Jennifer makes good points and answers maybe some questions for us. Let's check in with Mary, who's calling us from Capitola. Mary, you're on China Uber Alice.
Hi, Billy. Regarding the roads, I think it's because we have the highest gas prices, but our gas taxes are taken and moved into social services. That's the thought. But two, I'm getting the impression over this past year or two that the younger Americans and possibly, middle age, some, and it's seems to be moving this way, don't want to work. They want everything handed to them by the government. And that scares me. As far as you're saying, we know we can do fabulous manufacturing.
Yes,
but
we can.
Do our people want to work?
Well, let me answer that
country?
question with a family example. I won't name names, but a member of my family was an excellent welder. His son apparently is equally as good as he was. This man was so good at welding that he could pick his job. Wherever Caltrans wanted to send him to build something, he could pick and choose whether he wanted to weld that day or not because he was that good and that much in demand. I don't understand why everybody thinks they have to go to college to have a good job. I don't know if you've checked the union wages lately, but a good electrician, a good plumber, hey, plumbers make a lot of money. Electricians make a lot of money. Huh?
But it gets back to, do people want to work? Do they, Mike Rowe, I've heard him speak a few times about he's willing to help put young people through just a trade school and trying to say, you're going to be making over $100,000 a year. I don't think that the motivation is there, especially when there is something on the horizon where the government will take care of them. That is my fear. And thank you so much, Bill. Bye.
Oh yeah, that's yeah. You absolutely brought a good point. You know what? This past weekend, I was in the rural area in the kind of like a restaurant setup, and there's a couple musicians play there. The funny thing is, I saw one of the musicians. He wore an T-shirt. And the T-shirt, on his chest, they just say, "I'm not lazy. I'm just really enjoying doing nothing."
That's good.
It's good, but it does make the point though that maybe Jennifer and maybe our other caller was correct. I don't know. Let's find out from Gary what he thinks. Gary's on the line too. Gary, thanks. Welcome to China Uber Alice.
Yeah, good afternoon. Yeah, no, trade schools, I think are terrific. But if you spike civics and history and the fact that we're a republic and not supposed to be an oligarchy, and all the miracles that happen without the oppression of government is really important. And also, as far as coalition governments with the communists, it has never worked. During the Second World War, Chiang Kai-shek was sent money and forced into a coalition with Mao, who was trained in Moscow, and he spent 2/3 of his time fighting the Japanese while he had to fight Mao, infiltrating and planning the big picture. And you look all through Eastern Europe. And communism, again, it's a conspiracy. It's not a party. It's not a philosophy. It's a conspiracy for control. And they use torture. They use everything they can get. And I don't know why the American people if they had any history at all, they would look at Mao's Cultural Revolution and what happened in Cambodia. And they should fear sending their kids back to these government schools that wants them to contemplate on their belly button or choose the sex and et cetera. But anyway, good program, keep going. But coalition governments, you can't go at it trying to think what they want. They lie. Their purpose is to lie, to gain power, and they're moving on their New World Order. And basically, all the communists, look at Black Lives Matter, who was, the founders claim they're Marxist, trained Marxist. And look at all the multinationals and Wall Street that's supporting it. The very elite. Communism is a tool of the elite.
Goes back to the thing about following the money, Gary.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a new world order, and they also are pushing for the culling of the world's population with the Georgia Guidestone protocols.
Hey Gary, don't you think that whatever the Chairman Mao was doing to Chiang Kai-shek and during the World War II time, it's the same thing the Chinese Communist Party doing here in the United States and the Western world today?
Yes. The person that was ahead of World War II and World War I was Henry Stimson. He's a member of Skull and Bones. The first representative ambassador to China was Skull and Bones H.W. Bush, and then Reagan followed right behind with Winston Lord. Skull and Bones, the uncle of George W. Bush, was the head of the American-Chinese Chamber of Commerce or trade organization. And they were the ones that moved, the New England, establishment and manufacturers and stuff to communist China. In fact, it was Ronald Reagan who signed an executive order that moved a steel mill from the United States to communist China. In 1980s, Americans weren't doing so hot. We just coming out of Carter. And it was signed by George Pratt Schultz. The Pratt House, the very headquarters of the Council on Foreign Relations, is called the Pratt House. They are the same people that are pushing world government and attacking anybody's national sovereignty and destroying the United States as a sovereign nation. It's just supposed to be part of a European Union or South American Union or a Far Eastern Union, and that's what they're pushing.
Gary, that's a whole look.
Gary,
you've led us down a road that could be a whole nother show.
Gary, can I respond to Gary a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Gary, you're right. And the communism is not it's a conspiracy theory because they infiltrated to every aspect of the Western world. Mm-hmm. And you're so right. In the school, everything else. Right now, we're talking about the socialism. They wanted to have this universal basic income. So the Mary just said that nobody want to work. So according to that
one last point. We had a donut shop on Portola Avenue. I think a lot of people were familiar with it, with some people that had escaped from Cambodia.
That's correct.
They wanted to send their children back to their country because what they saw happening in American schools right here in Santa Cruz, which was run under Superintendent Watkins, who is a member of ICLEI. And ICLEI is a front for both the UN and the World Bank. And that's what's going on here in Santa Cruz. I mean, this is a center of Red Chinese, California is the center of Red Chinese communist activity, pushing for an independent state, a break-off state called Pacifica. And there's lots more on that. So I'll let you guys go with that. And
thanks for calling, Gary. We appreciate it. All right, let's see who else is online. Well, Jim wants to talk to us. Jim is also in Santa Cruz. Jim, you're on China Uber Alice.
Yeah, hi. I don't get into all that bones and skulls and all that stuff. I look at it this way. Don't blame the Chinese. Blame us. It's our money that went over there. It's our money that started the companies over there. It's our money that moved everything over there. It's Americans.
Well, you make a valid point. It's also us when we.
That's very good.
When we buy products made in.
When we buy the stuff.
Yeah,
when we buy the stuff that our companies went over there.
Yeah.
It's that simple. It's not the Chinese. If any country would want somebody to come and invest in their place, I don't blame them for wanting us there. It's us. Our rich people, our people that wanted to have cheap labor so we can have cheap VCRs and whatever when it started. It's us. So
hey, Jim, what do you propose to stop this?
There's none of that.
So, Jim, how do you propose to stop this?
Well, you'd have to just stop buying stuff from them, but then you have to pay 3 times as much so your neighbor can work. And that's inflation, and now we're kind of screwed right now. Unless you just stop buying shit that you don't really need. Because we buy a lot of shit that we don't really need.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean?
You know, sometimes
we buy too much shit we don't need.
Yeah, that's right. And also cheap shit is a total...
Well, we have to watch what we say.
Okay,
I think I got most of that bleeped, but I'm not positive how long it took the thing to catch up. So anyway, sorry, Jim, we had to drop your call only because we can't. You got to be careful how it goes there. Oh wow. Anyway, but yeah, it does illustrate the point that people are passionate about what's going on.
I think Jim made an excellent point.
Jim made an excellent point. Look. If you tried to buy something it's the reason why car companies, they made a law a while back. American car companies had to have a certain amount of the car made in the United States. And I don't know what the percentage is. I think it was 30%, I think. I'm not positive. But, how they got around it was they made all the parts, in the United States, and then they shipped them somewhere else in another country to assemble it.
Yeah, just think about last year, sometime around like March and April, you couldn't find a mask.
That's true. That's right.
Right? So when the pandemic hit this country, you can't find a mask.
And then the masks that we finally got.
And then after we got a mask, and then we
learned. Made in China.
Yeah, and then we learned, actually I bought a bunch of them from Made in Taiwan. And then, but however, think about this. We just found out that I don't know, close to, we just discussed last week, it was 80% of the supplies that the Pfizer are making the vaccine was from China?
Yes.
The materials?
Yes.
The materials they used to make the vaccine was from China?
Yes.
So this is something that we should feel concerned about.
Well, not only that, look, everybody's all excited about electric cars, right? Yeah. Tesla and Prius
in China.
Well, yeah. The precious metals they use to make the batteries, this all comes from China.
Yeah.
And third world countries that China controls.
See, we need to think about this because, yes, sure, we do want to provide our consumers a cheap product to lower their living costs. But, hey, cheap product doesn't have to be only from China. So we can go anywhere. We will encourage we'll go tell the corporations, hey, it is politically correct if you just go to any place in we'll go tell the corporations, hey, it is politically correct if you just go to any place on this planet other than China.
Yeah. But, look, I with this, don't you, Amy?
Yeah.
You know exactly where I'm going with this. We can do the same thing now. And you know what? There are people that, if they want a sewing machine that'll last 40-some years and still work, they'd be willing to pay a little more for it. Look at what somebody pays for a Tesla. Those things are outrageously expensive, most of them.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So if you're going to, why not pay for other things that are made in the United States as well?
That's right. I think you're absolutely right.
I will buy it.
Yeah, me too. I'd be willing to pay $100 for a pair of Levi's made in this country by American workers.
It lasts a long time.
Yes, they will. And I think there's a lot of other people out there that feel the same way we do.
Yes, let's hear from them.
All right, let's check in with. See, my glasses are not so good anymore. I had to get my face up to see that it's Michelle calling from Santa Cruz. Michelle, you're on KSCO.
Yes, I just wanted to say I work with a vitamin company, and I wanted to buy some vitamin C. They said 95 to 97% of it comes from China.
Wow.
That's just ascorbic acid.
That's disheartening.
Yeah, we don't even have that here in the United States. It comes from there. So I just thought I'd tell everybody that.
Well, there are subtle ways we can support products made here. For instance, right here in Santa Cruz County, there's a company that makes its apple juice here and sells it all around the world. Martinelli's. It's a local company.
Yeah, I love that company.
Yeah, well, if you like apple juice or you want to celebrate with a non-alcoholic beverage, you can buy their product. They sell it everywhere, and it's made in America.
All right. I'm going to buy that for sure. From now on.
Just an example. Anyway, thanks for the call.
Thank you. Okay.
Let's check in who we have from Felton. Terry is on the KSCO Live line. Hello, Terry.
Oh, hi, everybody. So I'm just curious. I heard yesterday on a different show, Rory from Watsonville, he's a frequent caller, talked about India with their big numbers and you can't go there or come out of there and having a big crisis. He was saying that China is fighting with them. Do you guys know anything about that? China and India, are they trying to take them over?
Well, they're the two most populous countries in the world, so I don't know if they're fighting each other. But
their border are pretty much quiet right now. But India, they have been fighting each other along the border among the two countries, and in the past several years. But I think there's a few months ago start crying down, but however China try to take the advantage of the ongoing crisis in India.
Yes.
Try to say they point the finger to United States. China say the reason India is doing so bad against the pandemic is because India's close ally, United States, is not doing enough to help India. So that's what China is trying to take advantage.
But you hear that rhetoric from China, but also then you hear that India has been manufacturing vaccines in their very prominent pharmaceutical industry. They have a big pharmaceutical industry in India, and they've been selling those vaccines in other countries.
Yeah, I read the news. The United States, they tried to send a lot of vaccines to India.
Yeah, and a lot of other supplies. Am I right, Amy? I think a couple of military planes went loaded with stuff.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then, so why China not helping then?
That's a good question.
I don't think India want anything from China.
That's probably true. Made in China, the vaccine probably doesn't work.
Actually, China had its own vaccine. It was one of the South American countries. I'm not sure. Brazil?
I think it was Brazil.
Yeah, they criticized the vaccines from China because it didn't work. I think I read one of the article. It says it's got a 30% successful rate. In China,
30% is not good enough.
30%. Well, in China, this is what happened in China when they try to encourage people take vaccine. They say if you are over 60. You're not supposed to take the vaccine.
Who said that?
The government, Chinese government. So, here we give the priority to people with over 80, right? Over there, they say, if you are between 18 and 60, you're supposed to take the vaccine. But if you're under 18, and if you're over 60, you're not encouraged to take a vaccine. And then they will have a long list of things. You have a high blood pressure, you have a heart problem, you have a long list of things. If you have all those symptoms, you're not supposed to take the vaccine.
They're supposed to get rid of old people?
Yeah, is that is that a way to knock us people that are over 60 out of the loop?
Yeah.
I don't know. Hey Terry, thank you for the call. I hope we answered your question.
Okay, and I had one other question.
Sure.
2 days ago on the Dr. Future show, they were interviewing a Dr. Simone Gold, and she was saying that if we don't fight against the vaccine and against all this kind of COVID hoax, that we would become China, communist China, and she was saying particularly in California. And I'm curious, do you guys know, does China have their eye on California more than the rest of the United States? And if they do, why? I've heard this before, that they're particularly wanting California. Do you know why?
Well, I don't know if any specific reason, but however, California is the state. If you counting the business here in the United States doing something with China, I think we got most of them. Yeah, most of the people.
Well, if you look at California, just as the economies in the world, we're the sixth biggest. The state of California is the sixth biggest economy on the planet Earth.
And you look at all these big corporations here in California. They're all doing business with China.
Now, I haven't heard though that China has designs on taking over California. I haven't heard that. You're the first person that I've ever heard say that, Terry. So.
Well, I heard it 2 days ago on the Dr. Future show with the Dr. Simone Gold.
Okay, I might have missed that rhetoric, but
you should check that out, Nan. You're such a good. I mean, you're all wonderful, but
So you mean the Tuesday they show or week before?
This Tuesday or last or a previous show, Terry?
2 days ago.
Okay,
so
we'll go back and listen to it.
Tuesday.
Yeah, you got to check it out, Nan Sue.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for calling, Terry. We appreciate your call.
Thank you.
All right, Dan in Milpitas. Wow, Milpitas. That's a good haul for our signal. Hi, Dan. How are you?
Great. How you doing? I just wanted to make a quick comment.
Sure.
I'm right here in my garage, and I was looking at a phone book, and you know what a phone book is. And right in there, when you look up Federal Reserve Bank, it's under the business section. And then also, what's right underneath it is Federal Express. I mean, it's obvious why we're in the money crunch that we're in, because we don't own our own money. The second point I'd like to make is countries that do own their own currency and is backed by gold, like Switzerland, just to even talk, when you walk into the bank in Switzerland, just to talk to a banker, they had to gone to school for 7 years before they talked to their first customer. So many other points, like if I was to ask you where the home office for the IRS, which has only been an organization or an agency for the last 100 years, you wouldn't know where it's at, but it's in Puerto Rico. So we don't own our own money, but the technology of the day is the Constitution that we have and the Bill of Rights, and also state constitution. So once we get back to gold and silver, which is demanded by the Constitution, we won't have these problems, because it'd be like living in 1850 when things cost like 25 cents and you can get, 10 loaves of bread, 5 pounds of steaks for like 85 cents. So once we get back to owning our own money, we'll be all right. But you guys need to realize the fact is we don't own our own money. We don't.
Well, so I think that's fairly obvious at this point.
Yeah, well, it's obviously, and I want to think about this. All these big corporations, those internet high-tech companies, they don't even think they're American companies. They think they're global,
international companies.
Companies. That's why they don't really care about the U.S. Constitution.
Yeah.
They don't really care about the tradition and the culture.
Well, that's exactly what they did to Gaddafi. Was trying to make the African dollar, and he got everybody together. And as soon as that happened, they wiped him out.
Yeah.
So the only thing that really could save America is owning its own money, which we got sold out in 1913 under Woodrow Wilson. And the other thing that could save America and the rest of the world is if Africa had their own currency. As long as countries go back to their own currency and don't sell out like all the European unions did in '99 and went to 2000 and went into the euro, we'd be a lot better. We'd be in a lot better place.
Hey, Dan.
So all this. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you, Dan. Where did you get the information about the IRS based in Puerto Rico? I'm going to research that.
Well, when you like any old good American, you do a mail campaigner and they mail you back.
Oh, there you go.
That's what I did with this. Yeah. Oh. You start writing them a mail campaigner.
And they write back from Puerto Rico.
Oh, yeah, they tell you. And I even wrote to Shell Oil and I asked them, hey, is that the son of Venus on your symbol there? Yeah, it's the son of Venus. So you're dealing with some heavy-duty satanic worshipers. So you guys need to start doing mail campaigners in writing. But if you just start to see, if you guys have got to, you don't know how to use the Constitution, first of all, because if you start with, well, right now we would be at Article 5 on our First Amendment, which means petition the government. And then once you do that, there's a timeline that they have to follow by once you write it down there and you get it notarized for them to give you an answer. And that's how I got my answers. Believe me, these guys don't lie, but you guys don't know the words. And that's why it's all pronouns and all this. You guys don't understand words. Even though I'm fortunate enough to see right through it, a lot of people don't know that the IRS code is written at the highest level of comprehension.
I know that's true because I've read the IRS code, and if you you got to have a pretty good knowledge of the human of the English language to follow the IRS code. That's for sure. Dan, we appreciate your call. We got to move on.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Dan and Milpitas. Let's check in with Mike in Santa Cruz. Mike, you're on China Uber Alice.
Hi, guys. Thanks for taking the call. Great show as usual. I have two comments and a question. On India, I saw two articles in the last few days that one said that India mostly skated on the first two waves of COVID. So this looks really bad, but their mortality rate is actually right on line with what a lot of other countries saw. And another article relating to India was where they interviewed people that said, yeah, well, not because of COVID, because they locked us down and we're starving. We can't get out and buy food. So I think we have to wait a while for the truth to come out, just like in anything related to COVID.
All right.
And my question is, if China switches to the yuan, the digital yuan, it seems like that's going to make it a lot easier for them to do less business in the dollar, and that would definitely hurt us. So I'm just wondering if you guys have done any research on that, what your comments would be. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. First of all, I don't think China is going to switch to a crypto currency. The currency that's based on the technology, a blockchain technology. Keep in mind, that they were trying to create a financial system. The financial system, basically every step, it's going to be controlled by the government under the surveillance of using the technology to control everyone in every step. Every aspect.
Any moment.
Every moment. So they will control your personal savings account, checking account. They know who you deal with. They know how you spend the money. Yeah. And they can...
When and where, how you spend everything.
Yeah, and anytime if they feel it's necessary, they will stop the connection between you and your personal account. That's what they want to do.
Well, remember, we talked last week, and Amy brought it up in the first place, about the social account. About if you step out of
credit score.
Yeah, if you step out of line and you say something bad about the government, you get docked, your social score gets docked.
The social credit score gets
And
lower.
Then,
At a certain point, they will be able to start
control you.
Yeah, control you.
That's the way they control you.
So they are what they really try to is it's true they try to push the paper money out of the market, but they're not really go to any crypto currency, but they are going towards to a financial system under
Amy,
the total control of government.
Amy pointed that out last week. And she did she brought the article to my attention. Thank you, by the way, Amy. I appreciate that. Let's go to Mike, another Mike in Santa Cruz. He wants to talk about the Chinese development. Well, I can't read that. So we'll find out from him directly.
So your glasses are made in China? You can't read that.
No, they're made. I told the optometrist the wrong length for the reading, and I got to get them fixed. Anyway, Mike in Santa Cruz, thanks for calling us.
Sure. Yeah, I just want to. I discovered something here recently that China is building a massive power farm near the Laughlin Air Force Base in southwest Texas. It's 140,000 acres of land that is located 70 miles from that area, and it's owned by a company called GH America Energy. It's a subsidiary of the Chinese. I can't pronounce it really well. I think it's Guangkai Energy Company. And this thing is the Laughlin Air Force Base does a lot of training. They're teaching pilots and so on.
Is it in
they're going to be building this.
No, Texas.
Oh, Texas.
In Texas, yeah. So
let me get this straight. Are they selling power to the United States Air Force? Is that what's going on?
They're just, now that's the other part of it. It could be they're developing it right now. And so it's just another one of those items that seems to, be just a part of us selling our country out to other, to these people.
Boy, that's scary.
How do you can you spell out the name of the company that's the American company that's owning the place?
So it's GH America Energy, but it's a U.S. subsidiary of Chinese GUANGHUI Energy Company.
Guanghu?
I call it Guangkai.
Guangwei.
Yeah.
Correct. Are you familiar with them at all?
Actually, that's why I'm asking. I'm trying to.
He's going to do some. Look, he's a good reporter.
GH America.
GH America.
That's correct.
And Guangwei.
Capital G, capital H. Right.
And how do you? What's the name of the Air Force Base?
That's Laughlin. LAUGHLIN.
Laughlin Air Force Base in Texas.
LAUGHLUN. Did you say?
Laughlin.
No, it's LAUGH. Yeah, LAUGHLIN. Air Force Base.
Okay.
We'll do some research. Let me tell you something. I know this guy I'm sitting across the table from, and he's one heck of a reporter. So he'll find out what's going on. We'll have it in a future program.
Great. That'd be ideal. Thank you very much.
Mike, thanks for calling.
I just want to add that because it's just another point of interest. Thank you.
Yeah, it sure is, and a little scary, actually. Jim in Monterey is next up on the call board. Jim, thanks for calling.
Oh, of course. It's such a wonderful show. I think this is the best thing that's hit KSCO in a long time.
Oh, we appreciate that. Thank you for your kind words.
Here, now, I'm going to tell everybody that's listening here today that if they do their proper investigation and dig down as best you can and investigate the Masons Lodge, it's a secret society. It's also called the Masonic Temple, or they credit themselves with the Illuminati in the past. And that's a really old thing, and you've got to investigate that. This is going to show you how desperate this secret society is to save power. And now they know they're being found out, and they're selling out our country. Just like the previous caller, when he said sell out, I was going, well, Yeah, that's one of my biggest words for everybody today. It's a sellout. So watch out.
Yeah, my grandfather said it best. When you want to find out the real truth about something, follow the money.
Hey, Jim, how do they sell out? Do they sell America to China?
What was that?
Give us some details about what you're saying.
Yes. Oh, yes. They're selling out to anybody who's got the most money. That's what you do. That's who you are. That's the fact of, I've known for years, greed, jealousy, and hatred are some of the things you absolutely want to stay away from.
Yeah, well, that's
But these people have they have no morals. So they are going to sell out to the highest bidder no matter what. And they're going to try to pass it on to their children, just like Hunter Biden.
So you mean China buying them?
Well, I think what Jim's trying to say is that we got to watch out for secrecy in government. Okay. Secrecy in government and secrecy in aspects of who's running the show, really. I think that's what he's saying.
Yes.
Have I got that right, Jim?
That's what I'm saying, and absolutely everything, all these unfamiliar subjects that we're dealing with here in the world today, it will make so much sense to you all. As soon as you know more about the secrecy in government, the more you're going to understand this whole predicament we're in.
Jim, we're out of time, but I appreciate the call. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, there you go. Amy, your story has once again come around, as always, to what we were talking about. And I find it amazing that no matter what you talk about, we end up incorporating those thoughts into what we're talking about when we talk about the CCP. Is Amy still there? Amy, you still there? Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to let you know that once again I appreciate your contribution to our program today, because it really does make a difference. We want to tell folks that that's it. To quote Looney Tunes, that's all, folks. We'll be back next week on China Uber Alice. We have to take our last break now. KSCO Radio is proud to present The Ghost